It's an honor to share with you this week. Yeah, sorry I'm a bit late with the midweek devotional. I just kind of got tied up with other things and finally had a chance to do it now. So I just thought I'd do a really short one with you guys. And I just want to share a verse this morning that I read in I don't know if you guys have the Bible app. It gives you the verse of the day. And I don't know why this verse it really was nice to read. And it really impacted me today when I read this verse. And this is what it says, and it was Psalm 16, just verse 11. So I'm going to read that to you now, and I'm reading out of the NIV translation. And it says this: "You make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasure at your right hand." I love that short passage, and I know it's really short, but I kind of like how, last week we talked at church about how God kind of gives us the next step. So sometimes we don't get the whole picture, but we just get part of the step. Sometimes it's taking that next step and just going one step at a time. And you see the early followers of Christ do this, and I think that's what we're called to do oftentimes. And verses like this just fill me with hope and joy, knowing that, He makes our path of life known to us. Doesn't keep it a secret. We might not have the whole picture, but it doesn't hide what He wants us to do. He shows us that next step. If we lean into Him, we can feel what God is calling us to do in that next step. So it kind of lifts me with encouragement, knowing that the next step can be made known if I just lean in and listen to God. And I also like that He'll fill us with joy. And I'm really excited to, over the next month, unpack as a church what is joy and kind of look at Ecclesiastes. But I think it's important to remember joy is a lot different than happiness. And it tells us that there's joy in your presence. So if we sit and we lean in with God, there's joy in His presence. And I just love that. I think for me, that fills me with a great sense of relief. Because joy isn't happiness. It's bigger and better than happiness. Happiness is like a fleeting emotion. Joy is something that wraps up our emotions. So I kind of feel like God is saying, like, He wraps up and gives us space for our emotions, no matter where we're at. And it says that there's eternal pleasures at your right hand. And I like that too, because it's kind of like the gifts God gives us aren't something that can fade away. They're eternal. And even too, when we look at the word eternal, sometimes it's kind of, we think it's too often this far off distant thing, but sometimes it's this combination of spiritual and physical and everything. These pleasures that we find that we never would have found if we weren't dwelling with God. A different way of seeing life, of seeing how things happen around us. And I don't know why, but for me, this psalm just was really helpful. Because I don't know how your week's been, but I know my week's been great in lots of ways. But there's been some confusion and some things that I think have worried me. And especially trying to watch the presidential debate back home in the States with my son, and my 10-year-old son going, why don't they just shut up and let each other talk? And you see what's going on with politics in different countries, and especially America at the moment with the election, and just how there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of unrest. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of pain. And a lot of that can scare us at times. And I like Psalms like this because it shows me that I don't have to worry about that, because God will show me the path for my next step in life. And also on top of that, with those emotions, with those fears, I don't have to try to push them down or hide them when I pray or spend time with God, whatever that might look like for me, if it's walking in nature for you, or whatever it is for you that connects you with God. In those moments, you don't have to hide your fears, your concerns, your doubts, anything like that. God creates a space to embrace all of that and give us joy. So I don't know what your week's been like, church, or if you're just watching this on YouTube, but I really just pray that this verse will just sit with you, and that you'll know God is there, and He provides a space for you at all times. And He always shows us our path in life, even if it's just one step at a time. If we lean into Him, we can see what He's calling us to do next. And He wants us to come to Him with everything that we have, full of our doubts and concerns, our worries and our fears. So I want to encourage you to do that this week. And I just pray that you've had a blessed week, and may God's grace and peace be with you.